Hi, today I think we should talk about anxiety and stress. Um, During this time of lockdown and this pandemic, I think we all are suffering with higher levels of stress and anxiety. Um, what is important to understand is that anxiety and stress are not the same. Anxiety can arise from stress, and then my cat decides to, she also wants to be part of this video. Um, and um, Anxiety can look like stress, but it's not stress. Stress is not all bad for us. We have something that we call optimal stress, and that is the point where stress and our performance is directly linked to one another. So as the stress goes up, so our performance goes up. Um, After the optimal point, when our stress goes up, then our performance goes down. So that is quite important to understand. Um, Anxiety never leads to higher performance. And although there are a lot of other differences and we can define differently, I think that's one of the key things that we have to see. Um, there's never an optimal anxiety level. So the two areas in the brain that is related to anxiety is firstly our emotional area, which is our amygdala. Um, and our amygdala, um, when it perceives a threat or a fear, it might be real or perceived, then it alerts the brain that there is a threat. The other area is memory area, or what we call the hippocampus. So the moment that the amygdala alerts the brain, it alerts the hippocampus first. The hippocampus has a function to go and look for a memory. So it goes through the memory bank and see, have I experienced this before? Do I know what this is? And I think for all of us, we would not have a memory like that. We have not experienced this before. So there's nothing that we can go back to and say, oh, yes, I remember the Spanish flu of 1918, and this is what happens, this is what I can expect, which is problematic. So then it alerts the brain and it starts a fight, flight, and freeze reaction, which is our stress response. So the brain then releases all our stress hormones. And there are many of them, but one that you would have heard about, everybody talks about it, is cortisol. Cortisol is very bad for us. So what can we do to try and work against those stress hormones? Well, the first thing is sit down, take a book, and note down what it is that you are afraid of. What do you think can happen? What is the worst that can happen? And don't be superficial about it. Say, I think if this lasts longer than June, I'm not going to have a salary. And then what happens? Well, if I don't have a salary, I might not be able to pay my bond. And then what happens? Well, I'm maybe going to have to sell my house. So that you really can come to, on a deeper level, to what is that fear about? Why do we do that? Well, the thing is, the moment that we tells the brain to look for an answer, it releases dopamine, which is a very good hormone for us. So it starts lifting. The next step is then to decide, well, what can I do now? Let's make a plan. What skills do I need to develop as a contingency plan? What can I do for my company? How can I change my company or the way that I work to be able to move with this, to move with the times? One of the hotels I've seen has made an agreement with Discovery. And what they do in Johannesburg is that they've changed the hotel that if you are positive and you are afraid for your family, then you can isolate in the hotel. There's health personnel that lives on the premises. You're very isolated. They will give you meals. I think there's a way for a hotel to handle this time. Just think of new ideas. And just the fact that you're making a plan. Might not be a good plan, but just make one will help. The second thing is exercise, and especially cardiovascular exercise. We need to get up and, take a break from watching Netflix and sitting down, and be active. The moment that we are active and we push our heart rate up, the body releases serotonin and endorphins that will really help us. So I'm going to put up some cardiovascular exercises that you can do at home without any equipment that will help. But have you ever thought that housework is like very tiring and it can really push up your heart rate? Put on the music and start mopping that floor a little bit quicker, or do the windows or the mirrors. I might go for the windows and the mirrors because I've had quite a few patients that complain that they have back problems after doing the mopping. So go for the windows and the mirrors. So that's a good idea. The other thing is meditation. And once this is down, if you really want to learn to meditate, we can do that on the neurofeedback. But for now, in a simple way, if you want, we can do a video on meditation, but meditation is good for us. Meditation helps to focus all those chatty monkeys in our heads. And even if we help them to focus on breathing, if we just start focusing on breathing and trying to calm down, that will help. And the fourth one is sleep. Now, I think sleep is something that we neglect, and especially now we are in danger of totally ruining our sleep patterns. So I would rather do a separate video on it. But sleep is extremely important for our well-being and our health. That's what we need. So we need good health. Sleep is very important. And the thing that we need to remember is that technology is not really conducive to good sleep. So my rule is always an hour before you want to be asleep, you need to switch off all technology. So I hope this helps, and if you want to talk about it, you can email me.